I thought I was married to the most faithful woman in the world. Until one day my friend sent me a video of her kissing another man, in our own kitchen. Instead of making a scene, I prepared the most memorable anniversary gift for her. I had always believed in the sanctity of marriage. For 8 years, Elizabeth, Liz to everyone who knew her, and I built what I thought was an unshakable foundation. 5 of those years we spent as husband and wife, dwelling in a modest 2-story in the suburbs of Denver. The neighborhood was quiet, our neighbors friendly, and our life together seemed picture-perfect. I worked as an investment analyst at a firm downtown, putting in long hours that often stretched into evenings. The money was good enough that Liz didn't have to work. She'd quit her marketing job 2 years into our marriage, claiming she wanted to focus on making our house a home. I supported her decision completely. "James," she would say, cupping my face in her hands, "you're the best husband a woman could ask for." Those words always made the exhaustion of my workday melt away. Every morning, she'd wake up early to prepare my breakfast and pack my lunch. She'd kiss me goodbye at the door, her perfume lingering on my collar throughout the day. In the evenings, I'd return to a clean house and a hot meal. On weekends, we'd host friends or family, and everyone would comment on how lucky we were, how perfectly we complemented each other. My friend Steve had been there since the beginning. He was my best man at the wedding, the godfather to the children we planned to have someday. Steve lived 3 houses down and worked from home as a software developer. He and his wife Melissa had been married almost as long as Liz and I, and the 4 of us often spent time together. The day everything changed started like any other Tuesday. I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed with a text from Steve. I ignored it at first. We were discussing a major portfolio restructuring, but then it buzzed again. And again. During a short break, I checked my messages. "Steve, James, I need to talk to you." "Steve, it's important." "Steve, call me when you can." I stepped out of the conference room and called him. "Hey, what's going on?" I asked, expecting news about a neighborhood issue or maybe plans for the upcoming football season. His voice was uncharacteristically serious. "James, I don't know how to say this." My stomach tightened. "Is it Melissa? Are you guys okay?" "It's not about us," he said hesitantly. "It's about Liz." The world seemed to slow down. "What about her? Is she hurt?" "No, she's fine. It's just," he paused. "I think you need to see something. I can't tell you over the phone. Can you come by my place after work?" The rest of the day passed in a blur. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind raced through possibilities. Was Liz sick? Was she in some kind of trouble? Had Steve discovered something about her past? By the time I pulled into Steve's driveway at 6:30 p.m., my hands were shaking. He met me at the door, his expression grave. "Before I show you this," he said as he led me to his home office, "I want you to know I debated whether to tell you. But I would want to know if it were me." He sat at his computer and hesitated before opening a video file. "I installed a new security system last week. It has cameras with a view of part of your property." The video began to play. The timestamp showed 2:17 p.m., just 3 days ago. I recognized our kitchen window. The angle was from outside, but the view was clear through the large bay window that Liz had insisted on during our remodel last year. Liz came into view, laughing. She was wearing the light blue dress I had bought her for her birthday. Her hair was down, cascading over her shoulders the way I loved. But she wasn't alone. A man followed her into the kitchen. Tall, with dark hair. I didn't recognize him. He put his hands on her waist, and she turned toward him, smiling. Then she sat on our kitchen counter, the counter where she prepared our meals, where we sometimes ate breakfast together on lazy Sundays. The man stepped between her legs, and they kissed. Not a friendly kiss. Not a quick peck. A deep, passionate kiss that spoke of intimacy and familiarity. I watched, unable to look away, as they continued. His hands moved over her body. She ran her fingers through his hair. They were so comfortable, so at ease in my home, that I knew instantly this wasn't the first time. Steve stopped the video. "There's more, but..." I thought that was enough. I sat there, numb. "How long?" I finally managed to ask. "The system has been catching them for about a week, but judging by how comfortable they are." Steve's voice trailed off. He didn't need to finish the sentence. This had been going on for a while. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. "I don't know," Steve said. "I've seen him come and go a few times now. Always when you're at work. Always leaves before you get home." I stood up, needing to move, to do something. My first instinct was to drive home and confront her, to demand answers, to scream and yell and throw things. But a colder, more calculating part of me held back. "What are you going to do?" Steve asked. I took a deep breath. "I need to think." That night, I told Liz I was working late. I drove to a hotel and checked in, needing space to process what I'd seen. As I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, my phone lit up with a text from her. "Liz, working late again? Don't forget our anniversary is in 2 weeks. I was thinking we could do something special this year. Love you. Our anniversary. 8 years together, 5 years married. The traditional gift for a 5th anniversary is wood. The modern alternative is silverware. I decided neither would be appropriate for what I had in mind. Over the next few days, I maintained a facade of normalcy. I went to work, came home, ate the dinners she prepared, and slept beside her. But all the while, I was planning. I asked Steve to keep monitoring the situation and to let me know if anything changed. "Are you sure you don't want to just confront her?" he asked, concerned. "Not yet," I replied. "I want to understand exactly what I'm dealing with first." What I was dealing with, as it turned out, was a relationship that had been going on for at least 4 months. The man's name was Daniel Matthews. He worked as a personal trainer at the gym where Liz claimed to spend 3 mornings a week working on her fitness. They had apparently met during a session and quickly moved beyond a professional relationship. Through careful questioning and observation, I pieced together more details. Daniel was divorced, lived in an apartment downtown, and had no children. He was 34, 2 years younger than me. According to his social media profiles, which were public, he enjoyed outdoor activities, had a German shepherd named Max, and frequently posted motivational quotes about seizing the day. The irony wasn't lost on me that while I was working to provide for our future, my wife was seizing the day with another man. In our home. On our furniture. In our bed. Steve's security system had caught them entering our house on multiple occasions, always following the same pattern. Daniel would park down the street, walk to our back door, and Liz would let him in. They would spend anywhere from 1 to 3 hours together before he left the same way he came. I had all the evidence I needed, but I still wasn't ready to confront Liz. Not directly, anyway. Our anniversary was approaching, and she had been dropping increasingly obvious hints about wanting something special. Janet's husband took her to Aspen for their anniversary, she mentioned casually over dinner one night. I responded, pretending to be engrossed in my pot roast. "And Melissa was showing me the bracelet Steve got her for their last anniversary," she continued, watching me carefully. "It's really stunning. Sapphires to match her eyes." I looked up and smiled. "Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I'm planning something you'll never forget." Her face lit up. "Really? What is it?" "If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise," I replied, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. The anticipation in her eyes made my stomach turn, but I maintained my smile. The next day, I put my plan into motion. I called our closest friends and family members, inviting them to a surprise anniversary celebration at our home. I told them I was planning to renew our vows, that it was going to be a beautiful, intimate ceremony followed by dinner and dancing. Everyone was thrilled. My parents promised to fly in from Phoenix. Liz's sister Caroline said she wouldn't miss it for the world. Our friend circle enthusiastically accepted, offering to bring dishes and help with decorations. Meanwhile, Steve had installed an additional camera that provided a better view of our kitchen and living room. The footage it captured was clear and undeniable. 3 days before our anniversary, I took the day off work without telling Liz. I sat in Steve's home office, watching the live feed from our house. Sure enough, at 11:43 a.m., Daniel's black Audi pulled up down the street. By 11:46, he was entering our back door. By 11:48, he and my wife were kissing in our living room. I watched, detached, as they moved upstairs to our bedroom. The camera didn't show that area, which was probably for the best. I had seen enough. That evening, I told Liz I wanted to take her out for a pre-anniversary dinner the next night. But the actual date is this weekend, she said, confusion evident in her voice. I know, but I thought it would be nice to have a private celebration, just the two of us, before the real anniversary. I have something planned for Saturday too, I explained. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. 2 celebrations? You're spoiling me, James. You deserve it, I said, smiling tightly. You've made these 5 years so educational. If she noticed the strange choice of words, she didn't show it. The private celebration was a quiet dinner at Le Bistro, her favorite French restaurant downtown. I ordered champagne, toasted to Truths Revealed, and presented her with a small jewelry box. Inside was a silver heart-shaped locket. When she opened it, she found a miniature USB drive nestled where a photo should have been. What's this? She asked, looking confused. Just a little preview of your real anniversary gift, I said, taking a sip of champagne. You can check it when we get home. Her confusion only grew on the drive home. Once there, she immediately took the USB to our computer. I stood in the doorway, watching as she plugged it in. The screen filled with a single video file named forliz.mp4. She clicked on it. It was a montage of her and Daniel, compiled from Steve's security footage. Entering our house. Kissing in the kitchen. Embracing in the living room. The timestamps clearly visible in each clip. She turned to me, her face drained of color. James, Don't, I interrupted, my voice eerily calm. Save it for Saturday. We have guests coming. Guests, she whispered, horror dawning on her face. Yes. For our anniversary celebration. Everyone's coming. Your family, my family, our friends. They're all so excited to help us celebrate our loving marriage. She stood up, panic evident in every movement. James, please, we need to talk about this. It's not what it looks like. I laughed, a hollow sound that didn't contain a trace of humor. It's exactly what it looks like, Elizabeth. You've been having an affair with your personal trainer for months. In our home. In our bed. Tears streamed down her face. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I love you, James. You have to believe me. I don't have to believe anything you say ever again, I replied. But don't worry. You'll have a chance to explain yourself. To everyone. On Saturday. The next 2 days were a study in psychological warfare. Liz alternated between tearful apologies, desperate explanations, and attempts at seduction. She claimed Daniel meant nothing to her, that it was just physical, that she had been feeling neglected because I worked so much. I remained unmoved, going about my business as if preparing for an actual celebration. I ordered catering. I rented tables and chairs. I hired a bartender. All while letting her simmer in the knowledge of what was coming. You don't have to do this, she pleaded the morning of our anniversary. We can work through this privately. Go to counseling. Start fresh. Oh, we're definitely starting fresh, I assured her. Just not together. The guests began arriving at 6 p.m. Liz had spent hours getting ready, probably hoping I would change my mind, that this was all an elaborate bluff. She wore a red dress I had never seen before, her makeup flawless despite her swollen eyes. She greeted everyone with a brittle smile, accepting congratulations and compliments with visible discomfort. I played the role of devoted husband perfectly, keeping my arm around her waist, kissing her cheek, thanking everyone for coming to celebrate the most important relationship in my life. At precisely 8 p.m., after dinner had been served and everyone was relaxed with food and wine, I stood and tapped my glass with a spoon. I'd like to make a toast, I announced, smiling down at my wife, whose face had gone pale. To Elizabeth, my wife of 5 years. A woman who has taught me so much about trust, loyalty, and appearances. Murmurs of approval rippled through the gathering. Her sister Caroline beamed. My mother dabbed at her eyes. When you commit to someone, I continued, you promise certain things. Honesty. Faithfulness. Respect. These aren't just words, they're the foundation of any lasting relationship. Liz's hand trembled as she clutched her wine glass. She knew what was coming. I've prepared a special anniversary gift, I said, pulling out a remote control. Something to commemorate the true nature of our marriage. I pressed the button. The large TV screen on our living room wall flickered to life. The room fell silent as the video began to play. Liz and Daniel, entering our home. Kissing passionately. Laughing together in our kitchen. The timestamps clearly visible, showing multiple days, multiple encounters. Gasps echoed through the room. Someone dropped a glass. Caroline's hand flew to her mouth. My mother turned away. Liz stood frozen, her face a mask of humiliation and terror. As you can see, I said calmly, my wife has been very busy while I've been at work. Busy entertaining her personal trainer, Daniel Matthews, in our home. In our bed. I turned to face her directly. Did I miss anything important, Liz? Any details you'd like to add? She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Tears streamed down her face, ruining the makeup she had so carefully applied. I. She stammered. No need to explain, I said, my voice ice cold. The video speaks for itself. I turned back to our stunned guests. Thank you all for coming to witness this moment. There's one more announcement I'd like to make. I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket. These are divorce papers, already filed with my lawyer. Elizabeth, you'll be receiving your official copy on Monday. The silence in the room was deafening. Liz finally found her voice. James, please, she whispered. Not like this. This isn't you. You're right, I agreed. The man you knew would have forgiven you. Would have tried to understand. Would have been devastated but willing to work through it. I stepped closer to her. But that man died the moment he saw you betray everything we built together. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. You should pack your things tonight, I said. I've arranged for you to stay at the residence inn until you find a more permanent situation. Your key card won't work after midnight. Caroline stood up. Liz can stay with me, she said, her voice tight with anger, whether at me or her sister, I couldn't tell. Perfect, I replied. Now, I believe the evening has reached its natural conclusion. People began to leave, murmuring awkward goodbyes, avoiding eye contact. Some squeezed my shoulder in silent support. Others just hurried out, eager to escape the toxic atmosphere. When everyone was gone, Liz collapsed onto the sofa, her body racked with sobs. "How could you do that to me?" she cried. "Humiliate me in front of everyone we know?" I looked at her, feeling nothing but a cold, hollow space where my love used to be. "How could you bring another man into our home? Into our bed?" "It was a mistake," she insisted. "A stupid, terrible mistake." "No," I corrected her. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or saying the wrong thing during an argument. What you did was a choice. A series of choices, made day after day for months." I walked to the door and opened it. "You have until midnight. Take what belongs to you and go." As she packed, moving through our home like a ghost, I sat in the kitchen with a glass of whiskey. The same kitchen where I had watched her kiss another man. The same kitchen where we had shared thousands of meals, made plans, dreamed of our future. She left at 11:30 p.m., her car loaded with suitcases and boxes. She paused at the door, looking back at me with red-rimmed eyes. "I really did love you," she said softly. "Not enough," I replied. After she drove away, I changed the locks, deactivated her alarm code, and blocked her number on my phone. Then I went upstairs, stripped our bed, and threw the sheets in the trash. I couldn't bear to sleep there. That night, on the couch, I stared at the ceiling and wondered if revenge had brought me the satisfaction I had hoped for. The look on her face when the video played had been everything I had imagined: shock, humiliation, despair. Everyone now knew the truth about who she really was. But the truth about me had also been revealed. I was capable of calculated cruelty I never knew existed within me. The man who had loved Liz unconditionally was gone, replaced by someone harder, colder, more ruthless. In the morning, messages flooded in. Friends and family checking on me, expressing shock, offering support. Steve came by with coffee and a sympathetic ear. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "The public exposure?" I considered the question carefully. "No," I finally answered. "She took everything from me, my trust, my future, my sense of what was real. All I took from her was her facade." In the weeks that followed, I learned that Daniel had broken things off with Liz after the public revelation. Caroline had asked her to leave after just 3 days, unwilling to harbor someone who had made such a fool of herself. She had moved to Chicago, where she had family, starting over where fewer people knew her story. As for me, I sold our house, unable to live with the memories it contained. I moved into a downtown apartment, changed jobs, and began the slow process of rebuilding my life. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I went too far. If a private confrontation would have been more dignified, more honorable. But then I remember the way she looked at Daniel in those videos, with the same loving expression she used to reserve for me, and the doubt evaporates. She has nothing now. No husband, no home, no reputation. And me? I have my freedom. Freedom from lies, from betrayal, from the illusion of perfect love. It's not what I wanted. But it's what I needed.